My relationship with my wife Sam has been rocky since our son Oliver was born 2 years ago. She got pregnant just a few months after we got married, and things were fine up until Oliver's delivery. I assume it was postpartum depression. Sam never sought out a specific diagnosis, but after he was born, it was like she just couldn't care less about our child. We hadn't planned to have children so early into our marriage, and it was scary, but I can't describe to you the all-encompassing love that comes with being a parent. The fear was worth it for me. It still is, and always will be. Throughout Oliver's life, but especially that first year, I was essentially acting as a single parent. The only help I had, and I don't mean for that to sound diminishing, because this man is a godsend, was my best friend, Matt, 33. The plan was for Oliver to be breastfed, but my wife had no interest in it after he was born. I was the one changing diapers and mixing up formula for bottles, and being in the house we shared felt so oppressive. Like the joys of bonding with my son were being sucked out of me because of the energy there. So I would take Oliver to Matt's. I don't want to ramble on for too long, but there have been exactly 0 times in life where Matt hasn't shown up for me. I've known him since I was 19 and can safely say that even after all that time. But this is the most wonderful thing he's given me. I could sleep soundly knowing my baby would be taken care of. I had a place of refuge. He is so good with Oliver and is my shoulder to cry on. I don't think I'll ever be able to repay him, but I'm definitely trying every single day. Things with my wife have kind of started to look up, but recent events have sent us in a huge downward spiral. Oliver was having some speech delays, but he's been really picking things up as his 3rd birthday nears. He's babbled da-da-da towards Matt and I for a while now, but daddy has since been added to his vocabulary, and that is used to refer to us both. I have never corrected him. I checked in with Matt to make sure he was fine, and he said he was honored to be bestowed with such a title. Sam got to hear this recently when I was on FaceTime with Matt, and she basically went ballistic. As much as I hate to admit it, I did say he was more of a parent than she had been, which, while true, is hurtful. I need outside opinions on this. Top comments. I think you are going to get lambasted for this one. I'm going with not the a hole for me, however. I have been hospitalized previously for depression, and I think it's amazing my now wife stayed. Crap gets rough out there, but everyone gets to be happy. That includes you. Soft toss on asking yourself if you are in love with Matt. Seems like you act as a couple. No judgment, but leave if it's what you want. Edit. Wow, surprised people are super upset about asking a dude to think about his feelings. Also, commenters, try to call out your own bias. I am a queer male who happened to fall in love with a woman and have beautiful children. Guys sound like how I acted before I was honest with myself and open with others. Lol. Just because some of us are in heterosexual lives, relationships doesn't mean we don't understand, haven't gone through stuff like this. Reply to that comment. I don't think anyone would be asking Original Poster to examine their feelings if Original Poster were a woman describing a friendship with another woman. People need to stop the sexist assertion that men cannot be emotionally close and vulnerable with one another. Not only is it perfectly acceptable and healthy for 2 men to have an emotionally close friendship, but it should be more normalized so men feel more comfortable forming close connections with their buddies. Another reply, lesbian speaking, totally sounded like he was going to say in the next paragraph they fell in love, but haven't figured it out yet. Shocked I didn't. Also speaking up, since I'm a woman, I don't feel that commenter's respectfully gentle question was coming from a sexist place, lol. I'd too assume the same of 2 women if one of them was saying things like, my safe space and shoulder to cry on. But to be honest, even more wholesome that they're just bros, lel mayo, good dad vibes all around. I'm just surprised it seemed immediately sexist to others. Someone asked, info. I feel like there's a lot missing from your wife's side of things. Does she literally do nothing? Does she work? Are you doing all the doctor's appointments, grocery shopping, cooking meals, housekeeping, waking up through the night for your son, getting clothes, going to the park, etc.? Have you talked to your wife about what's going on? Encouraging seeing a therapist, encouraging outings, spending time with her son. Or do you just go off to Matt's place every chance you get? Original poster replied, she works from home during the day. I don't work, and we have enough money put back, thanks to help from my parents that I don't need while Oliver is this age. She does the grocery shopping as well. Everything else is all me, although Matt does help significantly with the cooking. She's extremely hands-off with him. I've tried to be encouraging, but at some point I feel like the responsibility to seek him out and create a bond with him is on her. I've suggested she look into things before, and she's brushed me off. Someone replied to that, dude, you need to do more than suggest she see a therapist. You need to insist. This is no kind of way to live. Original poster replied, I feel stuck. I don't want to push too hard and send her into kind of tailspin. I don't want to fully remove myself from the situation for the same reason. Another Redditor's reply, I had severe postpartum depression. It was the lowest I've ever felt in my entire life. My ex-husband was not supportive. He didn't even catch it. My mother did. Even with medication, it took me a year to feel like any semblance of myself. It's been 14 years and I'm still on medication because I fear feeling that way again. And it destroyed my marriage to have so little support from my ex. The worst part about it was how awful I felt as a mother in person because I was having trouble bonding and everyone acted like it was something that was instant. It wasn't for me. The low blow you gave her of the insult physically pained me to read. You're the a-hole for that comment. Where your wife is and what she's feeling is nowhere I'd wish on my greatest enemy. You've asked her if she wants therapy. It's time to tell her it's necessary, or even to call her doctor and talk to them. If you care about your wife, have any compassion for her, and any regard for your son having a relationship with his mother, keep trying. I know you're tired, you're resentful, but please trust me that she's in a pit of despair. I think you could both use some professional help at this point. Good luck. Thank you for the likes and award, everyone. I hate seeing two people suffer, and let me be clear, both mom and dad are suffering. I'm not discounting what he's been going through. Severe depression is hard on more than just the actual patient, and sincerely hope they can both get help. Original poster replied, thank you for sharing this. I'm going to take some time to cool off and try to collect myself, then suggest treatment again. A Redditor asked, I have been reading this thread and feel like I can understand both yours and your wife's perspective. But, if comfortable, can you answer this question? Have you and Matt engaged in any physical, sensual activity together? It could be anything, as small as hand-holding and cuddling to something more. There's no judgment from me. I am trying to better understand the emotional component of your friendship. Original poster replied, definitely zero sensual activity. We have cuddled before. We hug a lot. Comfort through words is nice, but feeling someone's physical presence is also very important and very healing. Didn't think it was possible to be so touch-starved when I have a toddler crawling over me 24/7, but I cling on to those physical touch moments. And I cuddle him a lot to express my gratitude for the way he's done so much for me over the years, and now my son. Original poster replied to another question about his and his wife's bed life. My wife and I aren't very physically affectionate these days. I was prepared for this in some ways, as I had heard that bed lives tend to fall to the wayside after a woman gives birth, even after the baby starts sleeping through the night. Still, I hadn't been anticipating nearly 3 years to be spent like this. My attempts at initiating physical affection either feel like they're simply tolerated or rejected altogether. Which is fine. Like I've said, my focus is on my son. It is nice every now and then, though, to be close to someone. Another answer. For one, I'm not having explicit sensual fantasies about my friend and never claimed to be. I also would prefer not to discuss my sensual fantasies on Reddit, even anonymously. I've known him for over a decade, and we have had many conversations over the course of those more than 10 years. I'm not preying on my friend. Communication between him and I has never been a problem. He's a big boy. He can tell me if he feels gross. I appreciate the concern on his behalf, but it's unnecessary and runs on the assumption that I'm getting off on cuddling my friend, which is maybe something a teenage boy might do. I'm 30. A Redditor replied with, reading through your responses, I think that you, Matt, and your wife are living in limbo. No one is quite willing to break the egg. I'm not going to bring up sensuality issues because it's irrelevant, but the fact is, you and Matt are essentially behaving as a couple. Who wouldn't be? Your wife has withdrawn from the relationship sensually and emotionally. Your wife is struggling and refuses to get help, but she is also becoming resentful because she's increasingly becoming the outsider looking in. Matt is putting his life on hold to support you. Could he honestly have his own primary partner and still spend all the time he spends with your family? If your wife shapes up and gets help, you do realize that Matt has to step back to give your wife space to fully become a mother and wife. How do you feel about that? You say you ask her to get help, but it's rather telling that there are no ultimatums because, well, Matt has allowed you to be comfortable in this no man's land. You are hiding behind your wife's passivity. The three of you need to talk about what a future looks like. You owe it to yourself to live honestly. Maybe you three become a poly household. Maybe you two will get divorced. Either way, the status quo is untenable because at least one of you is unhappy. Original poster replied, "With my wife, I have built up more resentment than I previously realized. Her being involved with me and my son the way she's supposed to would be ideal, but I think I need to work on myself first. Right now I feel like too little, too late, which I acknowledge isn't productive or good for Oliver, so I need to work on forgiveness." Edit. This was poorly worded. I meant what I want for him more than anything is to be happy. Meaning my specific wish for Matt is to be happy, not my wish in general over my care for my son. Update. I came home Thursday with a plan to talk to my wife. I texted her in advance so I was able to jump right in when I arrived. As suggested to me in the comments of the previous post, I was vulnerable. I told her I was feeling exhausted and worn down. I said frustration had built up with her being so uninvolved. I said I wanted to see real, major change in the way she interacts with Oliver within the next 2 months, or an ultimatum of her getting help/divorce would be given. I also made it clear that if she wanted to get help now and not wait those 2 months, that was also acceptable. I would assist her however she wanted, but I wanted to see some initiative being taken for our child. At first, I was met with anger. Eventually, we were able to have a genuine conversation where she admitted that she didn't feel maternal at all. She felt I had pushed her too hard to have Oliver when she got pregnant, and she often wondered what our life would be like if she had made a different choice. Obviously, this was all hard for me to hear. Resentment was building up on both sides, but did it have to build for nearly 3 years? I can't help but feel like it was mostly her responsibility to bring up this conversation. My frustration was over her treatment of our son. Her frustration was over us having a son at all. I can't even fathom a world without Oliver in it, while she was pondering what our life looks like if he never existed. It's been a few days since the conversation, and I'm still feeling a lot. I feel sad for her. I'm very angry for my son and I that the last 3 years could have looked different, saved us from so much pain and exhaustion and negative emotion. It doesn't feel fair. She and I are going to start the divorce process soon. I'm hoping that it will remain civil. I called my parents to update them on the situation. They've been unconditionally supportive of me and were ready to jump into action mode to help. They will financially support us for the time being and offer us a place to stay. Matt and I discussed it, and we don't think that's a viable option. Oliver is already going through a big life change, so taking him out of state to a house he's unfamiliar with would be harmful. It would also complicate things during the divorce. We're moving in with Matt. On top of all the practical reasons why it makes sense, Matt expressed that he would hate for us to be so far from him that anywhere he is would always be a home for Oliver and I. We still have a lot of things to pack, but we've been here since that conversation. Oliver was already used to life here, so the transition has been smooth. I have a lot of emotions to work through and plan on starting therapy soon. Edit. The mentions of coercion and force are ridiculous. Sam has never said outright that she didn't want a child. In fact, we had conversations prior to marriage about starting a family together. It was just never planned that it would happen so early into our marriage. She was scared about having him so early, and I did my best to assuage those fears by reassuring her, but always giving the option for her to have an out should she want it. There was never the expectation put upon her that she needed to have the baby. Top comment. This is actually really sad. There's nothing wrong with not wanting children, but when the child is there, you have to make some tough decisions. Sounds like you guys made the right one for your son before he starts to notice his mom's emotional absence. I wish you and Oliver and Matt all the best, and I'm sure Oliver will flourish in a home where he feels nothing but loved. Original poster replied, "Thank you. It's a whirlwind of emotions for me right now, good and bad. Matt is going super dad mode and making sure Oliver and I feel as comfortable as possible. I personally think he deserves all the good things in life. Winning the lottery, daily massages, a forever cold side of the pillow, etc." Another top comment. Update us when you begin dating your friend. Editor's note. There are a lot of highly upvoted comments here accusing Original Poster of having an emotional affair with his best friend, coercing his wife into having a child, and basically calling him an asshole. In my opinion, we don't know enough to assess, as we only have his side of the story. Last update, shared mannerisms with non-biological parent. 23 days later, family life. My son has been raised by me and my best friend turned partner since he was a tiny infant. For all intents and purposes, my partner is his dad, despite them not being blood-related. Some days, though, I would swear they are. They obviously don't share any physical features, but the mannerisms my son has picked up from my partner always make my heart clench when I notice them. They have the same laugh. They both chew on their bottom lip when they're thinking hard about something, or pretending to be thinking hard when we're playing. They both have a very specific one leg in, one leg out position they assume under blankets when we have movie nights. I see him in my son's little facial expressions all the time now that he's gotten older. My partner's mom even commented on it in a private moment between she and I. Prior to that, it was something I had kept to myself, thinking I was the only one who noticed it. It might not be noticeable to strangers, but those closest to us see their similarities, and that's enough for me. Definitely an I'm so lucky dad moment for me. A Redditor replied, "That's how it was and is with my husband and my oldest daughter. He came into her life at age 3. She's now 25. He did adopt her legally when she turned 9. One moment will forever live in my memory. We were on our way somewhere, and we were talking about a mannerism of hers. I made a comment like, I wonder where she got that from. He immediately responded and said, me. Who else? I looked at him and said, you're not blood related, remember? His response will always and forever say just how much he loves this child. He said, oh yeah, I always forget. I hit the jackpot with him. They're two peas in a pod. Even people who didn't know that she's not blood related have mentioned how much she looks like him. We just agree and smile. Original Poster replied, he sounds incredible. I feel similarly about winning the jackpot. Both of us need to steer clear of Vegas slots. We've already cashed in on our once-in-a-lifetime wins. Another Redditor replied, this is me and my stepdaughter. We are just so much alike, and even look quite a bit alike too. People are always a bit taken back when they realize she's not my natural. Original Poster replied, that's incredibly sweet. My son and my partner don't look wildly different, and they have the same dark hair. So I'm sure there are assumptions made when they go out together alone. Still, I don't think anyone would be shocked to find out they're not biologically related. So those little moments I shared about in my post hit me hard.